Look, I've walked down that aisle in the hardware store. You're staring at a wall of white tubs. Some say lightweight, some say all-purpose. Some come in a massive bucket that weighs as much as a small child. If you grab the wrong one, you're either going to spend 3 days watching paint dry, literally, or you're going to wake up next year to a crack in your wall. Let's cut through the noise. You need to know exactly what's inside those containers and why it matters for the job you're staring at right now. Core differences. Here is the fundamental split. Spackle is for repairs. Joint compound is for construction. Think of Spackle as the emergency cosmetic surgeon of wall prep. It is formulated with binders, like vinyl or acrylic, and fillers, like calcium carbonate or microscopic glass bubbles, designed to stay put. It doesn't shrink much. It doesn't need water to activate, and it's built to fill a void and freeze in place. Joint compound, or mud, is a different beast entirely. It is primarily gypsum dust and water. Its job isn't just to fill a hole. It's to merge two separate sheets of drywall into one seamless monolith. To do that, it needs to be spread thin, feather out over wide areas, and shrink down to pull the paper tape tight against the wall. If you ask Spackle to do that, it fails. If you ask mud to fill a deep nail hole, it shrinks into a dimple that you'll have to fill again tomorrow. Primary function. Use Spackle when you have a distinct, isolated problem. I'm talking about nail holes from a gallery wall you decided to move, a doorknob dent, or a gouge from moving furniture. It is a spot treatment product. You dab it in, swipe it off, and walk away. Joint compound is for the long haul. It is the only material you should touch if you are taping seams between new drywall sheets, finishing corners, or skim coating a wall to hide texture. It is designed to be worked in layers. You lay it down, let it shrink, sand it, and do it again. It has a long open time, meaning you can work with it for minutes or hours before it sets, which is critical when you're trying to feather a butt joint out 12 inches so it disappears. Composition. This is where the chemistry gets interesting. Spackle typically uses a binder like vinyl or acrylic. In lightweight Spackle, the filler is often sodium silicate mixed with microscopic glass bubbles, microspheres. That's why the tub feels empty when you pick it up. It's mostly air and glass. This chemistry allows it to dry without shrinking because there's very little water to evaporate. Joint compound is heavier because it's mostly ground-up gypsum, rock, and water. All-purpose mud has more glue, adhesive in it, making it strong enough to hold drywall tape. Topping compound has less glue and is easier to sand, but it's weaker. Then you have hot mud, setting type, which is a chemical rebel. It doesn't dry by evaporation. It hardens via a chemical reaction, like concrete or plaster. You buy it as a powder, mix it with water, and you have exactly 20, 45, or 90 minutes before it turns to stone. Drying time. Time is usually the deciding factor for DIYers. Lightweight Spackle is the speed king. Because it relies on those glass bubbles and has low water content, it can be ready to paint in 15 to 30 minutes. You can fill a hole, grab a coffee, and come back to sand it. Standard joint compound is a lesson in patience. It dries by evaporation, which means the water has to leave the mud and go into the air. Depending on humidity, a thick coat of mud can take 24 hours to dry completely. If you paint over it too soon, the moisture gets trapped and bubbles your paint. Hot mud, the setting type, cheats this rule. It hardens in minutes, but it still holds moisture, so you can coat over it quickly, but you still shouldn't paint it until it's fully cured. Shrinkage. Here's the reality of physics. Water takes up space. When it evaporates, that space disappears. Since joint compound is full of water, it shrinks, sometimes significantly. If you fill a deep screw hole with mud, it will look flat when wet, but the next day, it will look like a concave dimple. You'll need 2 or 3 coats to get it flush. Spackle, especially the lightweight variety, has almost zero shrinkage. What you see is what you get. You pack it in slightly proud of the surface, wipe it once, and it stays there. Vinyl Spackle, the heavier, paste-like kind, shrinks a little more than lightweight, but still far less than mud. Workability. Spackle feels like a dry, airy mousse, lightweight, or a thick, sticky putty, vinyl. It doesn't spread well. If you try to skim a whole wall with it, it will ball up, drag, and dry before you can smooth it out. It's designed for dab and swipe. Joint compound is creamy. It feels like cake icing. It flows. This flow is essential for feathering, the art of spreading the mud thinner and thinner at the edges until it blends invisible with the wall. You can mix it with a little water to make it even thinner for skim coating. You simply cannot replicate that creamy, spreadable texture with spackle. Volume cost. If you are buying by the ounce, spackle is expensive. A tiny tub costs a few dollars. If you tried to buy enough spackle to finish a room, you'd spend a fortune. But you aren't paying for volume. You're paying for the convenience of chemistry, fast drying, and no shrinking. Joint compound is dirt cheap. You can buy a 5-gallon bucket that weighs 60 pounds for less than 20 bucks. It's the most economical building material in your house. It's cheap because it's simple, rock dust and water. If you have a big job, mud is the only budget-friendly choice. When to use spackle. Reach for the spackle when you are moving out of an apartment, touching up after moving art, or fixing a trim piece. Specifically, nail holes. Use lightweight spackle. Press it in with your finger, swipe it once with a putty knife. Done. Trim repairs. Vinyl spackle is great for filling nail holes in wood trim because it dries harder and sands smoother than lightweight options. One and done jobs. If you need to paint in an hour, spackle is your only option. When to use joint compound. Grab the bucket of mud for anything structural or large scale. Taping seams. Never use spackle for tape. It doesn't have the adhesive level to bond paper tape to drywall effectively. Corner beads. Metal or plastic corners need the durability and massive fill capability of joint compound. YouTube skim coating. If you peeled off wallpaper and the wall looks like the surface of the moon, you need thin down joint compound to roll on and squeegee off. Large patches. If you accidentally put your foot through the drywall, it happens. You'll patch it with a new piece of drywall, but you'll tape and mud the edges with joint compound. Substitution rules. Here is the golden rule. You can use mud to do spackle's job, but you can't use spackle to do mud's job. If you have a bucket of joint compound and just 3 nail holes, go ahead and use the mud. It will work fine. You'll just have to wait longer for it to dry and maybe hit it twice because it shrinks. But do not try to tape a room with spackle. It dries too fast to work with. It's too brittle to handle the building settling, and it will cost you 10 times as much. Verdict. Keep a small tub of lightweight spackle in your junk drawer for life's little dents. Keep a bucket of all-purpose joint compound in the garage for the day you decide to renovate or repaint a room. They are different tools for different scales of war. Respect the chemistry, and your walls will look professional. Use the wrong one, and you'll be sanding your mistakes for days.